think Ohio State right now, defensive tackle, looking for TYWONE Malone, top 55 guy, like top 5 defensive tackle. That's going to be their next guy. So, or not necessarily their next guy. That's the one of the defensive tackles they're looking at. So I would expect. I thought Bradley was committing at 1 p.m. today, and we're obviously past that. But yeah, I expect he will be a Terp here shortly.
That Maryland situation is interesting to me. Nebraska would be the program in the Big Ten that I would expect. If somebody said, name a program that's playing 500 football for the past 3 to 4 years that could break out, I think Nebraska is the obvious choice to join Wisconsin and Iowa in that division. But Maryland, they've got talent in that area. They pluck some of them out. DJ Durkin certainly had a couple really nice recruiting classes, didn't do anything with it. And of course, then the program blew up on him, or he had a lot to do with that. And now the same thing with Loxley, bringing in some of those gems, but I don't know if it's going to be quite enough. But it's just an intriguing dynamic out there as a member of the Big Ten, Steve.
Yeah, and the issue was the first impression wasn't all that great this past year. And, some of their better players, like the 2 running backs, McFarland and Leak, went pro. The quarterback from Virginia Tech didn't do very well last season. So they're kind of facing an uphill grind this year. It would be wonderful if they could find a way to get the 6 wins and get to a bowl game this coming year, but I'm not sure the games are there for that to happen. So I guess I'd like to see how they're going to go about it. But he's got to keep the best players in that DMV area. Northern Virginia has a few. Maryland and the Baltimore and Washington, D.C. areas have been outstanding. Keep those best players at home one way or the other and find a way to make it work. So I'm interested to see, he's been known as a great recruiter over the years. Can he mine some talent there on the East Coast, the Mid-Atlantic region, and get some of those guys, even down the Carolinas, to go to Maryland, who can be difference makers? And, one of the things that the Big Ten expansion to the East Coast with Rutgers and Maryland has helped is we're seeing more and more Big Ten signees going to all the schools from that East Coast region. And I think that is because the familiarity. They can turn the TV on every week and watch Illinois, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, all these. They've kind of been opened up to a better brand of football, so to speak. Other than Clemson, the ACC, everything you see in the Big Ten is far superior, by and large, to what you're going to see in a typical ACC game. So I think they're seeing, Michigan in a new light, Michigan State, Penn State, some of these other programs, and they're starting to go into the East Coast. So I think that's been a positive. And Ohio State has certainly gone out there and taken its share over the years. Jeremy Ruckert from the East Coast, is a big deal. Obviously, Haskins and Young from Maryland turned out to be, top of the line guys for Ohio State. So, I just look at it and, we like to complain and poke fun and these kind of things, but there have been a few positives that have come out of it. And not to mention, as I will tweet until the end of time, Ohio State was in that leaders division with Purdue and Illinois, and we had been sentenced to every other year trips to Champaign and West Lafayette until the end of time, and we traded those in for every other year trips to Washington, D.C. and New York City. So I think we came out ahead on that deal 100%. So I'm not too broken up about it.
I do wonder what is the best that you can do at Maryland? Is it third?
It's going to be tougher in the Big Ten than it ever was in the ACC, where Friedgen could get to 8, 9, 10 wins fairly, I wouldn't say easily, but it was within reach. I think at Maryland, the high water mark is probably going to be 8, and you're going to have to hustle to do that because you're going to have to beat Penn State, Michigan State, somebody of that ilk you're guaranteed, 4 losses right off the jump in your division, unless you jump up and beat Michigan State one year. So Yeah, it's tough. I think 8 wins is the high water mark, but what you have is you're creating events. And so when Ohio State comes to town, theoretically, it's a bigger deal than anything they ever had with the ACC. And, I look at it like that. And so, in that 1 year out of 10, when they're in the hunt for the division, then, God bless them, they got to take advantage of it. But I think eight is the high water mark. And if they somehow get to 9, then they have really pulled off something special.
Well, I think I used to think teams could try to be Michigan State in terms of Michigan State did very well beating Urban Meyer, beating Ohio State, the top program in the conference. So other teams could be able to do that. But what Ohio State does now that they didn't do under Urban Meyer is throw the ball really well, and they still run the ball really well. So I don't know if my theory of, well, if you can just be like Michigan State, maybe you can have a couple of those years where you are the best team in the Big Ten, or you are good enough to make it to the Big Ten championship game. Because back then, they would just have to stop Ohio State's run and then score enough. And that was really, really hard to do. And now, like a team like Michigan State or Maryland would have to stop Ohio State's run, stop the quarterback, stop the passing game, and then score enough to win. So I don't know if you can be better than first. You're going to, like Steve said, you're going to have to get past Michigan State. We'll see how that goes. That may be easier or more difficult because what Michigan State has now that they didn't have the last couple of years is energy. They've got some recruiting energy. And that will eventually turn, you would think, positive. Michigan doesn't have that same energy.
Yeah.
That's one of the things they're missing. So can you overtake Michigan State? Then can you overtake or be equal with Michigan on the field and then maybe to Penn State? And that's a lot to get past. And, that's assuming Maryland can win their 3 Western, Big Ten West games and their 3 non-conference. And, you start out, if you give them 6 wins there, then it's, to win 9 games total, you're going to have to beat somebody that you wouldn't normally beat. And that's going to be a tall order for them. But, as Mike Loxley can recruit, we still don't know if he's a good head coach. Well, we still haven't seen if he's a good head coach. We've only seen him be a bad head coach.
They did beat Syracuse when Syracuse was ranked early last season, but Syracuse, as the season borne out, was not that good. But, give him some credit. And I want to see what he does as an encore. They really need that quarterback to come through and play well because he did not play well this past year. Regarding Michigan State, Mel Tucker was on the staff for probably 3 or 4 years at Ohio State and jumped off and went and did some NFL things and bounced around. And he beat Nebraska this past year when he was the head coach at Colorado. And this is what I'll say just in touch about Michigan State. As you mentioned, you got to talking about them and the thing that even though he, like Mark D'Antonio, is known as a defensive guru, as our friend Tim May would say, he's a guru as a defensive coach. He's not stupid, okay? And I'm not saying that Mark D'Antonio was stupid. He was just blindly loyal. Mel Tucker is not stupid, and he's not blowing this opportunity. He is going to put the best offensive coaches he can get his hands on that side of the football. Even though he's a defensive guy, he's going to find people who will put points on the board on offense because he's not blowing this. He's in the big leagues now as a head coach and making a healthy $5 million a year, whatever it was they had to get him. And he's not going to blow this opportunity. Trust me, my time around him, he's a very bright bulb, and he is not going to drop this ball. He is going to get an offensive staff in there that creates some excitement within a year or two. If these guys he hired this year can't get it done, he'll blow them out and go get more guys because he's there for the long haul, I think. And, he's a Big Ten guy. I think he played at Wisconsin. And obviously is a D'Antonio disciple, and he wants to make it Michigan State, a championship caliber program. He's not going to settle. Trust me. He'll move coaches through there till he finds the right mix, and they're going to be dangerous sooner rather than later if they can get the right prospects in there on both sides of the ball to kind of stabilize things.
As everybody out there can see on the screen there, thank you so much, Todd B. Hit like, comment, share the videos out there on social media, and help us here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. And if you subscribe, you hit the bell, you get the notifications, you know when we're going live. We're in the midst of a series realigning the conferences. We're going to go 6 conferences, 12 teams per, and we have addressed the SEC and our format thus far, and that includes a scheduling change as well. We take the scheduling out of the school's hands, and we format that as well. I wanted to get to this. Oh, Steve's.
I'm chuckling.
To roll on this one.
Are you mandating Texas versus Texas A&M, and some of these great rivalries, that Oklahoma versus Nebraska that went by the wayside because Pittsburgh, West Virginia, all that stuff needs to come back, even if they are non-conference. And I'm just curious, out of your dropping your SEC from 14 to 12, who are the giveaways? Who are the 2 that have been exiled out of the SEC? Is Missouri one of them, or I don't know who?
I'd say they're rather obvious, Steve. They're rather obvious. They've
Missouri
gone back
and Vanderbilt.
where they belong.
Vanderbilt, Missouri, or
not Vandy. We'll keep them around. Somebody's got to
Missouri
get
and Texas A&M. Missouri and Texas A&M.
Yeah, they go back to where they belong.
Yeah,
keep them in the lower Midwest, and
well, that gives them 12 schools again too. So I mean that makes sense, I guess. Even though West Virginia,
there's other moves to be made though. In the
you got to put
12.
West Virginia in the
West
ACC.
Virginia doesn't belong there.
Yeah, got to put West Virginia in the ACC.